Dreamworld is Australia's largest theme park, home to a variety of thrill rides, family attractions, and animal exhibits, spanning over 200 acres of land. It's located in Queensland, just outside of Surfers Paradise, actually a few miles north of Warner Bros. Movie World, another one of Australia's popular theme parks. They opened their doors in 1981, and when the park was designed, it was heavily influenced by Walt Disney. And that's very apparent the second you get your first look at this park. It is clearly inspired by the train station at Magic Kingdom and Disneyland. But there's no castles, high-tech dark rides, or elaborate theming here. But I'll tell you what, their mascots do look an awful lot like mice, but they are not. They are koalas. For the most part, Dreamworld has to create their own themes. They only rely on intellectual properties for a couple of things. The main one they have is the Wiggles. Previously, they had an entire section dedicated to DreamWorks, and before that, Nickelodeon. I made my first ever visit to Dreamworld earlier this year in 2023, which I gotta admit, as someone who is not from Australia, was probably not the best time to visit this park. Primarily because, as of when this video is being made, Dreamworld is very much in an in-between phase. They are in the process of doing a massive overhaul to the entire park. We've seen many attractions close, some new ones open, but still much more to come. And to better understand why this is happening, we need to go back to October 2016. Unfortunately, a horrible accident occurred on the Thunder River Rapids attraction, which was located right at the front of the park, which resulted in the death of 4 people. The accident received worldwide attention and resulted in a big decline in attendance. There's so much bad press going around, and understandably so. Accidents in the amusement industry like this are incredibly rare. The Rapids ride closed along with the following attractions: Tower of Terror 2, which is one of the tallest roller coasters in the world, Buzzsaw, a Mauer Skyloop located next to the Rapids, a Log Flume, their Big Red Car Dark Ride, a Flow Rider, and this ride called Wipeout. In total, 13 attractions have been removed since 2016. So, when I was walking around Dreamworld for the first time, while I certainly enjoyed new rides like Steel Taipan and Sky Voyagers, it was clear that the park was in the middle of some big changes, so there are many areas that looked barren, like some ride used to be there that is no longer around. There's a lot of construction for where new attractions would be going, and I quickly realized that this park has a lot of potential and is going to be really nice to visit in a couple years from now when everything is done. I had a good enough experience that I will absolutely go back one day, but until then, I'm going to do my best to walk through the different areas of the park in the way that I experience them, and maybe sometime after I make my return visit, I'll do a follow-up video so I can compare and contrast how the park has changed over time. Starting, of course, with first impressions, right when you park, you're going to see Steel Taipan off to the left-hand side. I think it's very smart putting your biggest roller coaster as the first attraction that guests are going to see when they arrive. Literally, when you enter the park, you turn left and boom, you're there. There's actually already a full separate review of this attraction up on the channel, so if you're interested in hearing about that ride specifically, go give that video a watch. Something I thought was kind of cool though, before you even enter the park, you'll probably notice there is a massive Lego store off to the right hand side. This is something that technically you don't even need to enter the park in order to visit. It acts as its own standalone store, but it's also the exit for the park. Very fun, not often you see something like that. Once you've passed through your turnstiles, you agree with the big globe that says Dreamworld there. That's your photo op, which I'll be honest, as cool as this globe is, the view would have been so much better without this ugly fence in front of it. It obstructs the bottom of the globe. I don't know, maybe it's just nitpicky, but if you look at other globe examples in theme parks, like the ones we see at Universal, you can see how it's a centerpiece. Nice, clean, unobstructed view from all around. And actually, I think Dreamworld agrees, because this is one of the projects that is going to be changing very soon. The area around the globe is being redesigned. They're bringing it forward a bit and putting a new swing ride right behind it. It's called Dreamworld Flyer, and it's going to make for a nice photo op, so I'm actually really excited to see how that looks. I'm imagining something like what Phantasialand has with their swing that's a big focal point in the center of the park. Also off to the side in this plaza is Sky Voyagers. If Dreamworld was inspired by Disney, then Sky Voyagers is the equivalent to Soarin'. It's a flying theater taking you through different Australian landmarks. No warping, good use of smells. All around, fun attraction. Be sure to do it. So let's exit this main plaza and turn to the right. This is like your main street with a lot of Australian pioneer-inspired architecture. Much like Warner Bros. Movie World, it is covered, which is nice for when it rains, or in the case of when we went, it was very hot, so we got out of the sun. That's also where you can access a big, large emporium. Dreamworld by far had the best merchandise out of any theme park we visited in Australia, so this is a gift shop I actually didn't mind spending time in. Some really nice designs. Up ahead, you're going to see 2 thrill rides, the Claw and Tailspin. On the right-hand side is Gold Coaster. This ride actually has a fun history. It used to be located at Luna Park, Sydney as Big Dipper, and then they relocated it up here and gave it a new home. The ride itself was fun, but definitely janky. At least with the newer trains, you don't get any headbanging, but it's clearly old. It has a very bizarre layout. The inversions are at the end, and the placement is kind of fun because it goes around one of the water slides from Whitewater World, which is right next door. That's definitely a big plus to visiting Dreamworld, is the built-in water park. You don't get anything like that at Movie World, and none of the water attractions at SeaWorld come anywhere close to this. So that's something, if you visit when Dreamworld has nice long hours, you can spend a lot of time in the water park and then go over to the theme park. So if we keep going around, the next area you're going to encounter is Kenny and Belinda's Dreamland. At least that's what it's called now. The area used to have DreamWorks branding, but they had to drop the license due to money. So when I visited, the kids area was a big mess. You can literally see how some of these buildings were very Chinese inspired, like it'd be for Kung Fu Panda. Their Vekoma family suspended coaster was called Escape from Madagascar. Before that, it was themed to the Rugrats and just had these really faded colors. It's actually since received a full repaint. It looks so much better now. You can see how there's some construction fences in these shots. One of the other changes that we've seen to this area is some of the attractions from ABC Kids World, which is another themed area in the park, have been moved over here so they can make room for something else. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. We're also getting a new kids coaster called Big Red Boat. That's of course in reference to the Wiggles. So this is now going to be like the main kids area in the park. Continuing around the circle, this is likely where you'll encounter your first set of animals within Dreamworld. This is what makes Dreamworld the largest theme park in Australia. A good chunk of this park is dedicated to wildlife. You'll notice that most of these encounters are towards the back of the park so that you don't have to deal with as much noise from the larger thrill rides. And first up is Tiger Island. This is just a small narrow pathway where you can get up close to some tigers. And if you catch them at the right time, they also do a tiger presentation there so you can see them jump, climb, swim. Really cool. So now you enter ABC Kids World. And I totally understand why this land is getting bulldozed because it was a total mess. This area used to be home to the Wiggles, but they converted it to a much broader theme and it's just very low quality. And again, clearly Dreamworld agrees because they're going to demolish the whole thing to make way for Rivertown, opening in late 2024. It's going to be home to a brand new Vekoma family coaster. It's part of a large $35 million investment. Now, not all that is for the roller coaster. I know a lot of that money they're putting towards theming, so it's supposed to be pretty immersive, like story driven. You have show scenes. I'm almost imagining something like Big Bear Mountain, but not as big. So if you were to keep going left, the next attraction you'd encounter is Motocoaster. This is like the first generation Intamin motorbike. They've definitely gotten a lot better. This one had a really weird restraint setup. It was a pretty cool layout, definitely a lot more elaborate than like your plug and play Motocoaster, but definitely a bizarre ride. I'd never really done anything like that. Next, you'll see the train station for the train that goes around the entire park. Really nice looking train too. I believe they just renovated it. But this would bring you back towards the front of the park, or you can keep going around. You go down this long skinny pathway that bumps up against Steel Taipan. To be honest, this pathway felt very out of place and empty. Like I almost felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. Maybe that was because there was so much construction going around. I did not get a chance to ride the drop tower, which is really unfortunate because this thing is huge. Big icon of Dreamworld, standing over 300 feet in the air. It's the same tower that Tower of Terror 2 was built into. They just removed the roller coaster. The ride reopened later this year, and it looks really nice from all the pictures I've seen. So as you continue down this path, it gets a lot more wooded, a lot quieter, and this is where you have the rest of your animal exhibits. The highlight of these are the kangaroos and koalas. It's Australia, so of course they have them. You can get really close to the koalas, and you can get so close to the kangaroos that you're literally in the exhibit, petting them, feeding them, hanging out with them. You can also pay a little extra to do an exclusive animal tour, such as holding a koala. Really cool stuff. Easily one of my favorite parts of the park. But also back there are some dingoes, some cool birds, crocodiles. It's not a full zoo, nowhere near to the scale of like the Australia Zoo, but still nice. It's just weird how far back it goes. You do this big loop that runs around the back of the park, and you almost forget that you're in Dreamworld. It doesn't feel like a regular theme park at all. But I think it's one of the things that makes this park cool is that you can get those varied experiences. Definitely don't miss this. It's one of those things where you got to make sure to consult your park map or pay attention to those small hidden pathways. Because if you don't know that this is back there, I think it'd be pretty easy to miss. So that gives you an idea of the layout of Dreamworld and some of the rides and attractions here. A couple other things I'll mention. We went during a time of year when they were operating one train on the big roller coasters, and that's pretty normal for that area once their peak summer season ends. But as you can see by this footage, we went when it was a really quiet day, so it didn't bother us at all. We didn't have to deal with any lines, which was honestly a bit of a shock to us considering that Movie World was busy and so was SeaWorld. So either everyone was in the water park or Dreamworld is still struggling, at least compared to those other two. But hopefully not for long. It's clear the park has has big goals and ambitions. In 2019, Dreamworld announced $50 million worth of investments to be put in place by 2022. And then immediately after that finished, they announced then another $50 million for 2023 and 2024. And that is just unbelievable. The current Dreamworld CEO is actually the former CEO from Movie World, and you can see all the high quality attractions that they have over there. So that's why I say that I believe the future of Dreamworld is bright. If you're coming from out of the country and planning a big trip to the Gold Coast, I'd say probably wait till after their new Vekoma coaster opens. At least at that point, the park will probably feel a bit more complete. And then at that point, you'd also have the new Wizard of Oz area open at Movie World. It'd just be a great time for a nice trip to the Gold Coast. But I want to hear from you guys. If you've been to Dreamworld in Australia, if you had a similar experience to the one that I did, if you agree with the points that I brought up, if you think there's anything I missed, feel free to let me know down in the comments. If you're new to Coaster Studios, we'd appreciate if you check out any of our other amusement park reviews that are available all in a playlist organized by alphabetical order. So go check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.